Basically, what you've done is you've presumed that every one of these
is
happy for you to visit. So you start a video as beforehand. So you've got genuine disingenuous intentions.
It's called.
This is a visit by DJ Audits to Wales. No, not that Wales. This Wales in South Yorkshire. He's returning from a short break. I had high hopes that he would come back as a nicer person. Those hopes were dashed by this video in which he is as obnoxious as ever. You'll find I skip through a lot of this because much of it is fairly routine, but I want to make an opening point and outline some law. DJ Audits has shot this entire video on a private road. Each of the business owners or managers he encounters in this video, there are 3 of them, separately tell him it's a private road. So I think we can take it as a working assumption that he is on a private road. The road is called Waleswood Way, part of an industrial estate located near the village of Wales in South Yorkshire. As I say, not Wales the country, Wales the village. To establish the status of a road, you can visit the website Find My Street, which is a database of streets using the National Street Gazetteer, which is derived from information submitted by local highways authorities. We can see straight away from the map on Find My Street that the majority of Waleswood Way is publicly maintained, but not all of it. There are some side roads that form part of Waleswood Way that are not publicly maintained and are therefore private. This means we need to establish precisely where DJ Audits is on Waleswood Way. The company DJ Audits is visiting is Cutting Edge Laser Limited, and here indicated by the arrow is where they are located, which means they're on Waleswood Way, but they are situated on a part of a road that is not publicly maintained, so it is indeed a private road. The next thing we need to do is go on Google Street View and take a look at this private road as DJ Audits would have seen it when he turned onto it, and approach the premises from the publicly maintained part of Waleswood Way. Here is a turning onto the private part of Waleswood Way. I've marked DJ Audits' direction with a red arrow. And here is a private road leading to Cutting Edge Laser Limited. You can see from those images that there's no sign indicating it's a private road. However, DJ Audits must have been looking at the Find My Street map, which clearly shows that the relevant part of Waleswood Way is private, so we can't give him the benefit of a doubt on this. He must have known this was a private road before he got to the premises. However, we can also see that there's no gate to deny general access to the private road. The significance of that being that the general public may, and I do stress may, have what is called highway rights over the road, meaning that although the road is private and maintained privately, the public would have the right to pass and repass along the road. This is one of those instances where all the bleating from auditors about a space being publicly accessible can sometimes have validity. Where a private road is subject to highway rights, it must remain accessible to the public at all times, meaning it cannot be gated off, blocked or obstructed in any way. However, it's important to understand that highway rights do not confer an automatic right to use an unadopted road that is a highway. It only confers the right to pass and repass along the highway. The question arising then is the private road part of Waleswood Way also a public highway? And irrespective of the answer to that first question, we must also ask, is DJ Audits trespassing on this road? That's because even if a private road is a public highway, any use that exceeds highway rights would amount to a trespass. Let's start by looking at the law, and we will try as best we can to establish the status of a road and whether DJ Audits has any right to be where he is. First, although DJ Audits is definitely on a private road, the question of whether he is on a private road or a public private road and whether he has any right to be where he is quite a complicated question, and although I will be giving you a firm answer, I don't pretend this is an easy area of law. Highway law is very complicated. I imagine it's a sort of area of law where even the experts can make errors and are unsure and have to rely on court decisions to determine questions. Even the most basic question of, is this a private road, which sounds simple enough, I would liken to the Schleswig-Holstein question in some cases. The Schleswig-Holstein question was the old controversy of the 19th century of whether the duchies of Schleswig and Holstein belonged to the Dutch crown or the German Confederation, or maybe both, and even then I've probably got the question wrong. Lord Palmerston, twice Prime Minister during this period, is often attributed, maybe misattributed, with the quote that the Schleswig-Holstein question is so complicated only 3 men in Europe have ever understood it. One was Prince Albert, who is dead. The second was a German professor who became mad. I am the third, and I've forgotten all about it. You could maybe say the same about some instances of asking if a road is private or not. For one thing, the very expression private road is full of confusion. This area of law is a terminological minefield. I will do my best. For the purposes of this explanation, I will use the term roads to mean both roads and streets. There is a semantic distinction, of course, between roads and streets, as understood in the ordinary sense. A street is a public thoroughfare that facilitates interaction, whereas a road is for transportation. It's rare for the term street to be applied to a road proper, but it's quite common for the term road to be applied to a street, and I will just use the term road to mean both. There is also a legal distinction, though you wouldn't think it from the unhelpfulness of the distinctions that the law provides. Roads are defined in section 142 of the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984 as any length of highway or of any other road to which the public has access, and the word street is legally defined in section 48(1) of the New Roads and Street Works Act 1991 and section 329 of the Highways Act 1980 as essentially any road or footpath or way or space laid out for such. The Highways Act uses the expression streets throughout, but for our purposes we can just use the word roads, and doing so also helps avoid confusion given that the expression private street also has a specific legal meaning, which is a street that it has been decided should be adopted by the local highways authority and publicly maintained. I will just use the plain word roads. First, all roads in England and Wales are private. We have a system of land ownership and it applies to roads just as it applies to any other space. All roads are privately owned, including publicly maintained highways that you and I use every day. To be clear, even if a road is actually owned by some public body such as a local authority or national highways, that road is privately owned, and in that sense it is a private road. In the case of publicly maintained highways, the interest of the prior landowner is notional because the local highways authority has control of a road to a depth of 2 spits or 2 spades. For legal purposes, roads are split into 4 types. Highways maintainable at public expense and adopted by the local highways authority, also known as adopted highways. Highways that may be maintained at public expense but have not been adopted by the local highways authority. These are unadopted highways. Highways not maintainable at public expense, also known as unadopted highways. Unadopted roads that are not highways. For convenience, we will call these private roads. Note that, strictly speaking, unadopted roads, whether or not highways, should not be referred to as private streets because the expression private street has a specific meaning in sections 2032 and 2322 of the Highways Act that will not always apply to unadopted roads. This is one of the reasons I'm staying away from streets and sticking to roads. I'm a bit simple myself, and I'm all for keeping it simple. Highways maintainable at public expense are those highways maintained by the local highways authority. Highways not maintainable at public expense are maintained by the private owners whose properties front the highway. In law, there is a presumption that a private road is owned by those whose land fronts and adjoins the highway. Those owners are known as frontagers. All highways, whether adopted or unadopted, are public highways in that the public have the right to pass and repass along them with natural accompaniments and partake in associated activities. Natural accompaniments would include things such as pushchairs, prams, dogs and so on. Mobility scooters and wheelchairs are also allowed on the footway. These are known as highway rights, which I mentioned earlier. Highway rights do not include a right to park, only a right to wait incidental to use of a highway, and it is also an offence to block or obstruct the highway contrary to section 137 of the Highways Act 1980. A highway is defined in common law, and on the screen you will see a standard definition from Halsbury's Laws. A more simplified definition would be that a highway is a way over which all members of the public have the right to pass and repass. Their use of the way must be as of right, not on sufferance or licence. In other words, as soon as it becomes a permission to use a road, it is no longer a right. Every part of that simplified definition matters. The right must be for the public, not a limited class of people. It must be a public right to pass, not merely permission or acquiescence. There must be some sort of passage enabled by the putative highway, typically to traverse from one place to another. And it has to be a defined route, so an open space is not a highway, even if the public customarily pass over it. Bearing in mind this definition of a highway, it can be observed that a highway has some essential characteristics. For our purposes, the vital ones are as follows. First, it must serve a public purpose. If it serves no public purpose, there cannot be a public right-of-way. So, by way of example, a path leading to a beauty spot or linking part of a wider network would serve a public purpose. A path leading only to a private residence, let's say, would not serve a public purpose and would generally not be a highway. Second, the route must be defined. A highway may take the form of a road, footpath or bridleway. A road form of highway may consist of a carriageway, which is the bit that motor vehicles go up and down on, and the footway, commonly known as a pavement. Note that a footway is not the same as a footpath. This is because a footway and a carriageway, when found together, are legally indivisible. The footway or pavement is comprised within the highway, has no separate existence to the highway in legal terms, and so cannot become a footpath form of highway in its own right. The only exception to this would tend to be where a road has been put in separately to a path, perhaps sometime afterwards. Meanwhile, footpath means a highway in its own right, over which the public have a right of way on foot only, not being a footway. In light of what we've said so far, it might help for me to address some of the common misconceptions. First, a highway is not the same thing as a highway maintainable at public expense. Commonly, local authorities use the word highway when what they really mean is a highway maintainable at public expense. But the two concepts are legally different. A highway maintainable at public expense is by definition a highway, but the same is not true in reverse. For a highway to be a highway maintainable at public expense, it essentially needs to fit within section 36 of the Highways Act 1980, which provides a list of ways by which highways can be highways maintainable at public expense. I will not be going into that in any detail as it's beyond the scope of this discussion. Second, and importantly from a highway authority's perspective, the creation of a highway as opposed to a highway maintainable at public expense does not impose on the highway authority the onerous maintenance obligation contained in section 41 of the Highways Act 1980, which is a duty to maintain highways that are maintainable at public expense. The creation of a highway as against a highway maintainable at public expense does, however, create some obligations for the local highways authority in any case, and this includes the right to assert and protect the public right, including prevention of obstructions. The highways authority must record the existence of a highway on a definitive list, in reality a definitive map and/or statement. The highways authority must keep this list under continuous review and updated. The next misconception is to do with the definitive map. Just because a route is not on the local authority's definitive map or definitive list does not mean that the route is not a highway. If a route is on the definitive map or list, it can be taken to be a highway, normally. If it is not on the list, it means either that A, it is not a highway, or B, the local authority have not recognised it as a highway. Thus, the definitive map or list is not actually conclusive in reality. Fourth, it is not necessary for there to have been 20 years of uninterrupted use by the public for a highway to be created. This misconception comes from the operation of Section 31 of the Highways Act 1980. That section says effectively that where a way which has the essential characteristics of a highway has been used by the public as of right for 20 years without interruption, the way is deemed to be dedicated unless the contrary is shown. That is a statutory presumption of implied common law dedication. The statute is essentially saying that 20 years use leads to inference of dedication, but the landowner could dedicate a way for public use expressly, and 20 years use is not required even for an implied dedication. The evidence can suggest implied dedication after a very much shorter period. Now let's go back to our question. Is this part of Waleswood Way a highway? In other words, what we're asking is whether DJ Audits has highway rights over it. The basic rule in common law is, once a highway, always a highway. That's fundamental. In other words, once a highway has been created, it remains a highway forever. It cannot cease to be a highway through lack of use. We know it's a private road, and by the look of the buildings, it has been constructed in relatively recent times, which suggests that there is probably no basis to assume it was previously a highway. Some general points to consider from important case law on this question are as follows. First, any road may be regarded as one to which the public has access if the public can access it without physical obstruction or in defiance of a prohibition. Second, whether a place is public will generally be a question of fact and degree. Third, for a road to be a highway, use must be by the public generally, so an important point to consider is whether access is meant only for a special class of members of a public, including, for example, guests of residents, postmen, milkmen and so forth. A sign or barrier lends weight to a restriction of the area to a special class, and thus to its being private, but the absence of such is not determinative. Evidence of visits to occupiers is not evidence of general public use. Evidence of use by the general public must demonstrate that public use of a road is on a regular basis. We can see that in respect of a private road part of Waleswood Way, there are points in favour of highway rights and points against. Points in favour of or consistent with highway rights are: the road is open, there are no barriers or gates, and there is no signage prohibiting or restricting entry, and the road and pavement continuously lead drivers and pedestrians from the rest of the estate to the road without interruption or hindrance. There are street lights and road markings along the road. The road is evidently maintained to the same or similar standards as other roads on the estate that are known to be publicly maintained highways. Points against or inconsistent with highway rights are: there is no throughway, it's a cul-de-sac consisting of only 3 businesses that are not public facing. This means the general public are unlikely to make use of the road. It is difficult to see how a right to pass and repass along the road could take effect, given that it's not a through road and highway rights do not include a right to park. Street lighting and road markings, even if provided by the local highways authority, are not necessarily an indicator of highway status, as private roads that are not highways are still subject to the traffic regulation powers of the local highways authority. The presence of a pavement is not necessarily an indicator of highway status, and the pavement has no separate legal status to the carriageway, so we cannot deem the footway a footpath and thus a highway for use by pedestrians. Use by pedestrians, even if general public use, cannot support vehicular highway rights. And the carriageway and footway are legally indivisible, so if one fails, so does the other. The standard of maintenance is irrelevant to the question of road status. Having considered everything in the round, my conclusion is that it is not a highway. It is difficult to see how it can be a highway, given that there is no through route or other public purpose to it. That is not to say a cul-de-sac cannot be a highway. It can be in given circumstances, but in these circumstances, simply being able to pass and repass is unlikely to be enough, as it also has to be demonstrated that there is a general public use for it. My view is that there are no highway rights, and anyone, including DJ Audits, accessing the road without prior permission may only do so under implied permission. I must admit, I come to that conclusion reluctantly. As an amateur photographer myself, I would much rather say that DJ Audits does have highway rights, but I think the logic of the situation goes against it. The fundamental point is that to be a highway there must be an intention that the road is used by the general public, and it's hard to see how that can be the case. Earlier I mentioned section 31(1) of the Highways Act 1980, which does state this: where a way over any land other than a way of such a character that use of it by the public could not give rise at common law to any presumption of dedication, has been actually enjoyed by the public as of right and without interruption for a full period of 20 years, the way is to be deemed to have been dedicated as a highway unless there is sufficient evidence that there was no intention during that period to dedicate it. There are two problems with invoking that provision here. First, it would require an intent on the part of the owner to dedicate the road for public use. Admittedly, there are no signs prohibiting or restricting the public from entry, but that cannot be taken to mean that the road is intended for public use. It doesn't imply that. Second, and I think this is a real stumbling block, it would require that the public have used the road as a highway as of right for at least 20 years. And given the factual circumstances of the road, again it's hard to give that credence. Use by postmen and the emergency services and business visitors and official visitors from the local authority is not use as of right, as it would fall under implied permission. Use by the public would require that local people, or anyone from anywhere, had been using the road for the purpose of things like jogging and dog walking and whatnot, or for purposes similar to DJ Audits to go and photograph things, which seems unlikely given that it is a cul-de-sac in the middle of an industrial estate that in turn is in the middle of nowhere. There are no houses round there or anywhere near. The nearest settlement is some miles away. Let's now look at the likely legal structure in place for owning and managing the road and the surrounding development. It's an industrial estate, and this part has a private road with 3 businesses along it. It's likely that these businesses are tenants of those units, and the owner of the private road will be the landlord, who is probably the original developer or someone who bought from the developer. In other words, the landlord will be the frontager. There are some parts of the Highways Act to do with maintenance and consultation by the local highways authority that treat any fronting occupiers as owners of a road, but that's not important for our purposes. For our purpose, the owner of the road is probably the landlord. The landlord's agent will manage the scheme and be responsible for maintaining and keeping the private road, to which the business tenants will contribute through their leases. There is an alternative possibility, which is that the 3 businesses along the road actually own the freehold or leasehold estate in their units, in which case they will also be presumed to share ownership of the road as frontagers and will share the cost of its upkeep and maintenance. This summary I've just given you of the law is important. Highway law is especially important, not just to auditors but also for photographers generally.
How do you set up your camera then? You're shooting with a DSLR?
I am today, yes. At the moment my go-to is shutter speed priority, but I do opt for amateur priority or sometimes fully automatic, but my go-to is shutter speed priority, and the reason why is because... How, mate?
Like that, can I ask why you're filming?
No, your business, mate. It's public.
No, it's not. It's private, actually.
What's private?
The street is private. We're in control of this area until 2031, I'm afraid.
Right,
Okay?
it's public space.
It's public space, mate.
What we're doing is public stuff.
It's not, unfortunately. You need permission to film on private property.
No, it's not private property.
Okay, it is, I'm afraid. Okay,
okay.
And you need to investigate that a bit further yourself if you need to.
Have you seen what we have to put up with
Yeah.
sometimes?
Hello.
You hold a camera
Yeah.
and you have to put up with this crap every now and
So if you
again.
don't mind, stop filming for me right
we
now.
do mind.
It's private property. It's not
Because we're
private
going to
property.
carry on.
Okay, you're
call
going
the
to carry
police.
on then? Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, you're not
Alright.
on public property.
So apparently we're on private property, which
Are you not going to stop filming?
oh for goodness. So that was a bit interesting. We actually got told One thing, well, one guy told us we couldn't film because it's private land, which it might be privately owned, but we got common rights, so we can really do anything we want on it. It's complete crap what he was saying.
I agree, it is complete crap. And what Gareth Danks says there is, in a nutshell, an exactly correct statement of the law. The space may be private, but he has the right to walk on it, as it is a public highway. Going back to DJ Audits' video, we've established that the part of Waleswood Way he is on is a private road and is not a highway, meaning DJ Audits does not have a right to be there. However, I have opined that I don't believe DJ Audits is trespassing at the moment. We know who DJ Audits is and what he's up to, which is pestering and harassment, so we know that his purpose there is not within the reasonable expectation of the owner or owners of a road. But each visit DJ Audits conducts will be slightly different, and some of his visits have a specific purpose, and I want to give him the maximum benefit of the doubt, so we'll say he has an implied permission to enter and photograph there. Perhaps this is just pretending, but let's give him that benefit of the doubt. But it's also important to note that unlike a right, a permission can be readily revoked, so this implied permission can be verbally revoked. If the businesses are tenants, they cannot withdraw that implied permission from DJ Audits unless they have authority from the landlord to do so, a point we will be discussing here. On the other hand, if they share ownership of a road, then any one of them could withdraw the permission and proceed against DJ Audits as a trespasser. I'm now going to pick up the incident where he's stopped to speak to some workers. Before that, he was just having a general mooch around and looking in skips. You'll have already noticed as you watched it that he'd started doing some close-up shots using his zoom function. That having been said, I don't believe he has captured personal data or compromised anyone's privacy just yet.
So let's see what this material looks like then as it comes off. Yeah, it's definitely covered.
Some close-up shots there of two of the staff. I think at this point he is capturing personal data because he's filming people at their presumed workplace in a way that makes them potentially identifiable. The relevant law is Article 4 of the UK GDPR, which defines personal data as data that could identify a natural person.
I don't mind it bending. Just sheets of metal, isn't it? Surely. From SSAB. Yeah.
You right there, Bob?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. I'm just doing a video from the outside.
Again, DJ Audits is capturing an individual's face at close range, so this is personal data. Note that he has a monetized YouTube channel, so he is subject to data protection, and he's not carrying out journalism or photography in some sense of artistic merit. His purpose is to make money by filming interactions with staff, and he hopes that some of those interactions will be unpleasant or dramatic so that the video gains more interest on the platform. He is obligated under Article 13.1 to provide the data subject, the man here blurred, with certain information as follows: the identity and the contact details of the data controller and, where applicable, of the controller's representative, the purposes of the processing for which personal data are intended, as well as the legal basis for the processing, where the processing is based on legitimate interests, the legitimate interest pursued by the controller or by a third party, and the recipients or categories of recipients of the personal data, if any. In this case, the answer to these would be whatever is the name and contact details of DJ Audits, the purpose of processing is for use on his YouTube channel, the legitimate interest is for YouTube content, The recipient of the personal data will be YouTube and potentially others. Let's see if he imparts any of that information to this gentleman or anyone else during his visit.
On the outside.
For
YouTube, for my YouTube channel. I'm not going to interfere with what you're doing, don't worry.
He didn't explain who he is. Is there a legitimate interest in filming and broadcasting the faces of the staff at this place? I really don't see that. Anyway, we'll skip ahead to the next interaction. Given that DJ Audits has been zooming in on his face, for reasons I can't fathom, I think that's a reasonable challenge. If I were a staff member at a business carrying out ordinary work and some strange man turned up filming me for no apparent reason or purpose, I think I would want to know why.
Just being nosy. What? Just being nosy.
Just being nosy. What he should actually say is something like, I'm Mr. whatever his name is, I have a YouTube channel called DJ Audits, and I go around filming people at work purely for human interest. My viewers enjoy the videos. I'm not here to cause any trouble. I do not need to have your consent to film, but if you prefer, I can blur your face or turn the camera away from you while I'm recording.
Right. What are you doing?
Just making a video. Cutting edge.
What on behalf of who?
Me.
Who are you?
Just a YouTuber.
I don't think that's enough information. According to paragraph A of Article 13.1, he's required to disclose his identity and contact details to a data subject, which this man now is, plus all the other information we can see in Article 13.1 that is applicable to this situation and that I list there on the screen.
What do you know about cutting edge?
Folding. 3 metre lengths, 4 metre lengths, 20 mil thick. Am I right?
What do you do?
Am I right?
Yeah, but what do you do?
You asked me what I know.
Yeah, but
YouTube videos.
Yeah, but for who?
For me.
I mean, you can film us, can you?
Sorry?
You can film us.
Yeah, look.
He's a cocky little so-and-so, isn't he?
Who are you then?
Just told you.
Yeah, but who are you?
What's your name?
Bear in mind that DJ Audits is a data controller, and paragraph A of Article 13.1 of the UK GDPR requires him to give the information that the man is asking for.
What's your name?
Never you mind. Who's your what name?
If you're not going to tell me, mate, I'm not going to tell you.
That's not how this works. He is the data subject. You are the data controller. He's not required to further identify himself. You are the one capturing his personal data, and you are the one required to identify yourself in this situation.
Do you want me to be useful to you at the minute?
Well, it depends if you want videoing.
Listen to what I'm saying. Come here. I'm going to show you something. You will want to know this, what I found. Okay.
I think what he's found, what he's noticed, is that there's something wrong with the gate. It needs welding. I'm going to skip forward a little again.
Did I get you any permission to film? Stop filming. I call for police now.
DJ Audits is on private land and it is not a highway. That means even if we say he has implied permission to be there, which I will allow him for the moment, if he is asked to stop filming, he must stop. It's not clear if a lorry driver has the apparent authority to direct him to stop filming. He would have to be an agent of the occupier, and I'm not sure that he is. So for the time being, I will continue to give DJ Audits the benefit of the doubt on that point. That leaves us with the more personal issue of data protection. DJ Audits has zoomed in on the data subject and we saw the livery of the lorry. So the lorry driver is being filmed in a work context which potentially identifies him. Ergo, his facial image is personal data under Article 4 of the UK GDPR. DJ Audits doesn't have to obtain the consent from the data subject to film and to broadcast the lorry driver, but without consent he must be able to demonstrate a legitimate interest that would override the lorry driver's personal rights, otherwise he risks legal consequences. I don't believe DJ Audits' interest in producing profitable YouTube videos should override the lorry driver's right to a bit of privacy at work. DJ Audits could have filmed him from a distance without zooming in, and it would not have detracted from the video one bit. A photographer in the same situation who wanted to capture the lorry driver's face up close would obviously be availed of a special purposes exemption, but if he's professional about it, he would approach the matter creatively and considerately. For instance, he might have zoomed in on the lorry driver in the cab without any identifying context, such as corporate livery.
What's it about? Stop filming? I don't know. Yeah, just YouTube.
What do you do content-wise, like?
Just industrial estates.
Oh, right.
Anything interesting on an industrial estate. You guys cut and fold, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Is it you cut and fold sheets?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, sheet metal.
4 meters maximum length
Yeah.
and 20 mil maximum thickness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for folding, no, but cutting, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the folding max?
Folding max up to a metre. You're talking. You can do 15 mil of a up to about a metre-ish.
Okay.
So.
What?
This man is close to the camera now, and we have a clear view of his face in the original video, in which DJ Audits doesn't blur anybody out. And he is at his workplace, so clearly this is personal data because he is potentially identifiable. I appreciate he has voluntarily walked up to the camera, and he may not even care, but that's not really the point. It is probably considered part of his duties anyway to challenge an uninvited stranger filming his employer's premises, and DJ Audits could always blur out his face, as I've done here, or even point the camera away from him. There's simply no need to film him. It may be that the man was happy to be filmed and doesn't mind, but my point still stands in the generality, because experience suggests that most staff who are caught in these situations do not want to be filmed and broadcast on YouTube, and that may be the case even if they are cooperative and friendly towards the auditor.
What's the most common thing that people are using your stuff for at the minute?
It's all sorts, pal.
Just give me one example, because I'm really clueless.
What, as in like what products?
Yeah.
Trailers,
All right.
soffits, you know, like fascias, stuff like that, soffits for buildings, all sorts, mate. It's all subcontract, so we just see a job card,
Yeah.
make that part,
So-
and then we don't see the finished product.
You're just shaping a piece of metal. You've not got no idea really what's going on. Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder, I thought, what's
Yeah.
a bit
Anything unusual on an industrial estate, my YouTube channel focuses on that type of thing, and I've not done a laser cutting and folding.
all right.
And I'm not going to even ask you to show me anything because you're busy.
Yeah,
But sometimes,
we can't win
I know.
for anyway with
I know.
insurance.
but I love to see it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I go on your website, I read a little bit, I get some pictures, add that to the video, and anything around that I see unusual.
As long as you don't call me a cowboy on it or something, I'm not
Well,
bothered.
are you aware that this fence? Yeah. So at night, people can just go in there and help themselves to use scrap.
It's got ram raiders.
Why are you not welded it on?
It's welded.
What? So in the night, like last night and tonight.
There's always someone here.
Yeah. Should.
Somebody else now challenges DJ Audits.
Yeah, mate,
What's up, pal?
Nothing's up.
It's a private road, this, you know.
I don't care.
You don't care? That is not a good attitude. Surely even a supporter of DJ Audits would have to admit that his attitude when speaking to these businesses is often not what it should be.
Why?
Don't matter to
Well,
me.
you're recording our stuff,
Yeah, that's fine.
but you're not allowed. I don't give you permission.
Don't need it.
This is the point in the footage when any implied permission he may have had to enter the private road and film now ends. We've already established that it is a private road without highway rights. He now has to stop filming.
What? This is a private road.
Don't matter to me. I'm not a vehicle.
Public, mate. It's not.
No, this is private land, mate.
As I said,
That
it
road,
don't matter.
yeah, that you can go on. That's public.
Don't matter to me.
This is private.
And
I suspect DJ Audits is not aware of highway rights, and he's basing his belief that he has the right to use a road on the assumption that it is in fact publicly maintained. That assumption is wrong, and in any case the road is not a highway.
You're allowed to record on it. May I give you permission?
he's been nice.
The man is correct. It is a private road, and it is also not a highway, and it appears to me that DJ Audits' implied permission to film has been withdrawn. He's now trespassing. As I will explain later in the video, even if Cutting Edge Laser Limited is merely a business tenant at that unit and has no ownership of a private road, nevertheless the law allows them to enforce against a trespasser, as I will explain later in the video.
He's been nice and polite. We've had a nice chat. Is this the boss?
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought so. All right, so just carry on. I'm outside. I'm not on your site. Private road, don't care.
Yeah, but
It's got pavement here.
Recording for?
That's my business.
What?
I've told him everything because his behaviour, his attitude as he approached me, friendly. You'll see what you look like on the video that gets published in a week's time. Just
He's a charming person, this DJ Audits, isn't he? Somebody has the nerve to tell him it's private land, which is a fact, and he takes umbrage. I can well understand that DJ Audits has a legitimate interest in earning money to feed his family, and I don't begrudge him that for one moment. And in principle, I can see no objection to him going around filming interesting things. But what legitimate interest of DJ Audits justifies overriding this man's privacy and identifying him at his workplace on a major social media platform? I'd love to know.
Just carry on, guys. I'm going to stay outside. I'm making a little video.
I don't get the old.
You don't need to get it.
I don't understand what your beef.
With you, your behaviour, your attitude, your first
I asked
approach.
you what you're recording for. That's all.
You said, "I'm not allowed private road straight in with the defensive."
it's a
It don't
private
matter.
road.
Why does that matter?
It's just a wannabe. Isn't it?
There you go. Back to work, guys. Not you, mate. No insult to you.
The status of the road matters, and let me explain why. It's an unadopted road and not a highway, so it's entirely private. I've been generous and assumed that DJ Audits has an implied permission to go on the land and photograph, even for business purposes. But he is facing objections to this now, so we have to consider whether he has any other rights that would allow him to remain and continue filming and eventually fly his drone, and it seems to me he doesn't. I take the view that DJ Audits is now trespassing because it has been made clear to him by a person in authority that the occupier is not happy with him filming the premises and staff, and he is stood on an unadopted road that is not a highway. In practical terms, one of the occupiers along this road could ask DJ Audits to leave, and ultimately he could be physically ejected.
I just don't get it. I don't get what
Well,
the deal is.
get back to your computer.
I'm not overly comfortable with being on YouTube myself.
No.
I'm not surprised, but DJ Audits isn't giving you a choice, I'm afraid.
Oh,
You're asking at least if you can record them.
if you hadn't come out to me right now, you wouldn't have even been on the video, would you?
The problem with that argument is that somebody does have to come out and speak to you, and that cannot be taken as tacit consent to be filmed. It remains the case that Article 6 of the UK GDPR applies, and you have to find a lawful basis for filming. The onus is not on these people to justify themselves to you. They are at their workplace, and you are now trespassing on the private road. In any case.
And if I'm filming at a distance, yeah, so I'm not filming in your faces.
That statement from DJ Audits comes close to a lie, in my view. You're not filming at a distance, you're filming people up close, using zoom at points, and you're not turning the camera away, and you've made no effort to blur out their faces in the upload of this content on your channel.
Come close to me, then you might be recognised, but just carry on.
In the original footage there was a jump just before that clip, which suggests to me that he's hiding something that he said to them at this point. Anyway, there is an onus on you, DJ Audits, to take steps to guard the privacy of these people.
What's up?
Do you do different places?
Yeah. All over the UK.
I felt like I've seen you. I thought you were. There's a police one. There's a bloke who does police.
Yeah.
And it stands outside. Like police compounds.
Yeah. We do police stations because they're interesting. We do prisons. They all come out and they start saying you're not allowed. What you? So Do you tell everyone to turn the dash cam off as they come round? What about the Google Street Maps when you drag the little man?
Let me answer that. Dash cams are passive recording devices and have a specific lawful purpose, and there is an implied consent to be filmed by such surveillance devices for road safety and reasons of crime prevention and detection. The recordings from dash cams and CCTV and similar devices are very rarely broadcast. You are actively going out of your way to intrusively film and annoy people for no justifiable person, then uploading it to social media for thousands of people to view without the consent of the people being recorded, which is completely different. And the two things just bear no comparison. It's just another bit of nonsense that auditors like to pull out to try to justify their activities.
I was just saying, what
It certainly was, mate.
No, it's like we're not getting no one down here recording. I was just asking what you're recording for. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why or what.
Just for YouTube. You put videos on YouTube, you get paid.
Right.
Simple as that. When
Use
people.
your name, I'll give you a follow. If you've got the YouTube now.
Yeah. You've been alright, you have. There's my YouTube name. You can have that.
Oh, thank you. DJ Audits.
Audits, yeah. The only thing
DJ
I would say is. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I've watched your videos all the time.
Nice one, mate. There you go.
Nice one.
So you know that people tell me that I'm not allowed to do stuff, yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're always telling you. Yeah,
Your boss did it.
yeah, you're not allowed to can't tell him. He's on public property.
So
I disagree. This is a private road and not a highway. Therefore, the lawfulness of DJ Audit's continued activity is dependent on permission, which has been withdrawn.
when you try that, I'm just going to show you to the world.
My gaffer upstairs has told me this is a private. This road here is not adopted. It's a private land.
How relevant is it?
Because like obviously. Well,
It's like telling me.
That's why
It's a private land, what's open to public.
Do you know that pavement there? Do you get dog walkers walking down, or anyone walking down to maybe inquire, see if there's any jobs going, or just to put some leaflets through? So it's public access.
I've explained this. The examples given by DJ Audits there of postmen and people inquiring about work are people with implied permission to enter, because their usage is within the reasonable expectation of the occupiers. DJ Audits is also dependent on the owner's permission, and I was prepared to be generous to him and treat his access as impliedly permitted. But an implied permission can be withdrawn. It is not a right. The distinction is very important.
So it's public access. When you walk down a road, that's it. You're allowed down because it's accessible.
To repeat, it remains a private road and you are now trespassing. At the outset of this video, I was willing to take a generous view of it and say that DJ Audits has implied permission to be there. But what he says about this is wrong. He doesn't have an irrevocable right to be there, and if he is asked to stop filming, as he has been in effect, because an objection has now been put to him strongly by 3 different people, he should not ignore that.
I get that.
And if you film, you're allowed to film anywhere you want, even at the police stations and the prisons.
No, it would just. He rang me saying, "No, someone's filming."
Who goes to prisons and stuff? Then?
I've done prisons and police stations, but they're dotted around too far. You travel, waste time. But here, I can just keep going round. I've never done a laser cutting and folding place. That's all. And now I have. I've learnt about it. The viewers have learnt about it. I've told you about your fence. You already know about it anyway.
Yeah,
what do you mean by ram raid? Did they get in?
Literally just weekend gone.
And ever since, you've not even attempted to secure it?
It's only been this week. It literally put it Monday we found out, we figured out whatever.
Oh, right, okay.
The skip wagon, it come in, it took our skip. Well, took the skip from where we rented it.
You're joking.
Where's your
How would they have got through there?
Because they reversed into the gate was shut and secured, and then they reversed into it, bust the gate, and then bust all the posts. All the posts were right over.
So this here then was actually bent. The whole thing was bent.
All the way over there.
Ah. What, you turned up Monday, so it happened on the weekend?
Yeah, I think it's happened Sunday. Saturday night. It's very weird seeing your face, putting your voice to your face.
Yeah.
He's starstruck, it is good. Where's your bike? Where's your little bike?
What's there, look? Oh,
Come on then, let's go in.
it's on that lamppost. Thanks for your being polite, my friend. And you'll see yourself on YouTube in a week, mate.
He doesn't get a choice, I take it.
So finally, let's just have one last look at the product. The metal sheets, we know that. We know they're very thick. They specialise in handling long and thick metal sheets to shape them into exactly what the customer wants for whatever they want to do with it. He gave us an example there, fascias across the top, so all across the top of these buildings here, they'll need very, very long pieces of metal shaped in a certain way. So let's finish the video off like we do on every video. Get David up and see what this place looks like from above.
From above! Sorry, I still haven't quite got the hang of it.
So as always, we've checked on drone assist. There are no flight restrictions in this area at all.
No flight restrictions at all. Let's just remember, though, that DJ Audits no longer has implied permission to be there and film. And he's now flying a surveillance drone over the land, despite objections. Again, like last time, he's taking off in the middle of the pavement. Do they normally obstruct pavements in Leicester? I think we've already established they've got funny driving habits there. Do the pedestrians walk in the road because drones take priority?
Cutting edge laser limited. Let's have a look at you then, shall we?
Ooh, let's see what you got, big boy.
Cutting edge laser limited. Let's have a look at you then, shall we? So not the biggest place in the world, but definitely a target for the metal thieves. A skip lorry actually rammed the gates. Wow. And took one of the skips. And he said something like, by the time we realised, or something like that. We have got somebody else now coming out.
And this man looks like he means business.
I wonder if he's coming over in my direction. Oh yes, he is. Here we go.
Hello, sir.
Hiya.
Can I ask you what you want? This is a private, unadopted road. You don't have right to film members of our employment here. That's crystal clear.
That is a correct statement of the legal position. I was willing to accept that DJ Audits had an implied permission to come on the road and carry out filming, but I was being generous and giving him an abundance of latitude, and it's not a right, and it's clear that the permission I generously allowed him has now been withdrawn. It is private land. His permission to photograph has been withdrawn, even if it ever existed. And since he's not welcome around there, he has no further business there and should leave.
But we're happy to help you if you've got a legitimate reason for wanting to film us.
Yes, I would like to come in and for you to show me your laser unfolding process for my video that I'm making for YouTube.
That's a reasonable request, actually. But if that's what he wanted, why didn't he ask them that before he turned up? They do have a website and they have telephones, and I assume they answer the telephones, or could have emailed them. And I don't remember him asking one of the staff members this when he spoke to them earlier, including one of the managers. I don't believe he and his viewers have any genuine interest in the industrial processes of this company, or really any company.
Is that request granted?
It's not, because we don't know your reasons for wanting to do it. Had you come and approached us beforehand, and we had some sort of genuine belief about the legitimacy of it, then we would do.
Which, of course, is fair comment, echoing one of the points I've just made. A genuine good faith person would have approached this in an entirely different way.
Okay. But I can't, because you're filming us without making a reasonable request to say, would you mind if I filmed you, then I'm afraid we're suspicious about your intentions. It's perfectly reasonable to say.
Thank you.
Which I think is reasonable.
Thank you for denying my request. I will now carry on with my video from the outside. I won't come on your property. The fact that it's unadopted makes no difference to me, because there's a public pavement coming all the way down. Hold on, let me finish the sentence.
The man from the company is correct. It is a private road and it is not a highway, so it's not a public pavement.
Let me finish the sentence.
It's not adopted.
Can I finish the sentence?
You can.
It's publicly accessible, and it accesses, I can see at least 6 businesses there. So if they accessed your sole business, then it will be your sole access road, and you can revoke my access. But at the moment, hold on, no. At the moment, I'm going to visit all these businesses.
Are you?
And
Do you
yes,
want me
I
to go
am.
and ask them if
Feel free, because I will be asking them myself, just like we're speaking now. I'm going to visit every single one of these and make a video. If every single one of them tells me to leave, then I'll be leaving.
So
But the fact
I do not believe that is a correct summary of the law from DJ Audits, or it may be more accurate to say it's not a complete summary. For the reasons I will give shortly, if the land is owned or held jointly and severally by the different occupiers, then any one of them can ultimately eject him from the land without having to consult with the others, and that will be lawful as long as DJ Audits has no reason to visit the others, which he doesn't. We know he doesn't.
the fact that
so basically what you've done is you've presumed
Yes.
that every one of these
yes, it's called
is happy for you to visit, so you start videoing
Yes.
us beforehand, so you've
Yes.
got genuine disingenuous intention.
it's called
Disingenuous intentions? DJ Audits? Disingenuous intentions? No. Never. How could you accuse him of such a thing? I've never known DJ Audits to be disingenuous, and frankly I'm sick and tired of these people insulting my DJ. I'm going to have a cry now.
Disingenuous intentions.
It's called an implied right of access.
No, it isn't. What it's called is an implied permission. That's what you arguably had, if we're going to be generous, until it was withdrawn. A permission is not a right. A permission is something that can be immediately revoked and withdrawn, and it has been, but you seem determined to ignore these people's wishes, which means you have no respect for their rights.
Because there's no gates, there's no fences.
That doesn't matter. It's trespass whether or not there are gates and fences. There don't need to be signs. The only purpose of those things is to deter and make it harder for troublemakers like you, but they are not a fundamental legal requirement. The position is that you are now trespassing.
And it's a public pavement. As you walk down,
This is a private road with a pavement. It is a cul-de-sac, so its public use will, in the main, be restricted to people having business at one of the premises along the road. And those businesses are not public-facing, they are commercial and industrial. So DJ Audits has no proper business here. Even if he were a genuine photographer or a journalist, he could be asked to leave.
as you walk down, if the collective group of businesses that use the road revoke your access, then I'll be gone. If you was the only business down here and you revoke my access, I'll be gone.
What DJ Audits says there is actually quite helpful, because it means he is admitting that he has no right to be there. He is dependent on the permission of the occupiers. Nevertheless, for reasons I will explain, what his claim, his belief that all of the occupiers somehow need to club together to demand that he leaves is wrong. This man from Cutting Edge Laser Limited, even if the company is merely a tenant, can unilaterally revoke DJ Audits access, and it seems to me he effectively has done. There is no need to consult anyone else, because DJ Audits does not have an appointment at any of the other places and has no business there.
That's not happened yet, so I'm staying.
You're making a presumption.
Yeah, a legal presumption, yeah.
Yeah, presumption. So
Alright.
you're then asking me if you can go and film our...
No, that's don't even
No,
need
you
to
just
ask.
asked. You just asked me that.
I asked for access inside
Yeah, why? Just tell me what you want to film.
for my
it
YouTube channel.
Yeah, and-
Currently got about 125,000 subscribers that watch me go around industrial estates every day. Anything interesting, you cut.
Why
and
wouldn't you come and approach us?
Never want to interfere, because people
Well, you
are
are
busy.
interfering.
I'm not,
It's
I'm
quite
outside.
legitimate. If you're standing outside taking photographs, people have a reasonable understanding or reason to ask what it is you're doing.
Everybody has a reason to ask questions, and I can answer those questions. I'm going to bring.
You haven't answered them because you haven't told me.
I'm going to bring this down while we're talking. Oh, you're going in?
Yes, believe it or not, the drone has been in the sky while he was talking to that man. Don't forget, we saw liftoff earlier. That means DJ Audits was distracted and not giving his full attention to the drone. Wait, distracted? Not giving his full attention? Distracted? Not giving his full attention? Where have I seen something like that before? Article 240 of the Air Navigation Order 2016 states this: a person must not recklessly or negligently act in a manner likely to endanger an aircraft or any person in an aircraft. But Article 23 of the 2016 order tells us that that requirement only applies to certified unmanned aircraft. It's common for people to get this wrong. An ordinary drone designed for a consumer is not a certified aircraft. We need to look at Article 241 of the Air Navigation Order 2016, which says this: a person must not recklessly or negligently cause or permit an aircraft to endanger any person or property. And Article 265 of the Air Navigation Order 2016 makes it an offence to contravene the requirement in Article 241. Is DJ Audits now flying the drone in a reckless or negligent manner? Some people, especially drone users who are sympathetic to DJ Audits, I've never come across such a person, but I'm sure there are some, those people will say no, because the drone can be left in some sort of hover mode while quite safely, and ultimately will return to home. Furthermore, it's likely that DJ Audits is keeping one eye on the drone, both by naked eye and the viewfinder on his controller. I'm not a drone user, let me make that clear. It's an important disclaimer, because there probably are things about actually using a drone that will influence how the law is applied. But I do think his actions are reckless or negligent. There are two elements to this, two reasons. First, I think it boils down to the fact that a drone pilot is expected to be in control of the drone. The various automated functions available to the pilot, such as a follow me function and a return to home function, are not there to replace the pilot or replace his skill and observations. They are there to supplement and aid the pilot in exercising due care and diligence, and I do think that not having full attention on the drone at all times is by its very nature reckless or negligent. The second reason I think he was reckless or negligent is that he failed to formally inform the man talking to him that he is operating a drone. The drone is in the air and he must either complete his flight or land the drone prior to continuing the conversation, otherwise he would be distracted. Bear in mind that the drone regulations tell us that drone safety is the immediate responsibility of the drone pilot, no one else. We can't hold the other man responsible because he's not the drone pilot, DJ Audits is, and his inquiries of DJ Audits are reasonable, polite and civil. He isn't harassing DJ Audits or threatening him. You could argue that the man could have been friendlier with DJ Audits and that friendliness can peel bitter lemons, or whatever phrase you want to conjure up. But there's nothing wrong in his manner or approach. It is for DJ Audits to inform him of the need not to be distracted while he flies the drone. In all this, I'm not going to explore here the distinction between reckless and negligent. It's not necessary for the purpose of this video. The next question is, does DJ Audits' recklessness or negligence endanger any person or property? That's the next element of the offence, and I think it would be hard to establish because there are no obvious obstructions or obstacles, and DJ Audits could here rely on the available functions of the drone, which I assume include a return to home, and it's very unlikely anybody would be endangered by such a drone in a way that could be attributable to DJ Audits not having full attention on what he was doing at that moment. This assumes that he was just hovering the drone and not flying it around while speaking to this other man.
Okay, mate. Thanks for your time. So that must be one of the big bosses there. So you see this road here, I've not even checked whether it's maintained by the public or whether it's private.
You've not checked? I'm not sure whether to believe that. I don't.
But the fact that it comes down with a footpath.
It's not a footpath. I'm always on the alert for the way this man uses language, because I think the gentleman from the company is spot on about him. We are dealing here with a disingenuous soul. It's not a footpath, it's a pavement. In legal terminology, it is a footway. The footway is legally indivisible from the carriageway. In ordinary everyday conversation, it's semantics, but here it's important to correct every little point he makes because he calls it a footpath so as to suggest that he has some sort of public right to be there. He doesn't, because if it's a private road used by the public, that does not imply a public right to use that road. Any public right-of-way down there would have to have been granted separately, and if he hasn't checked anyway, then what is he talking about?
It turns this corner here, you cross the road, it continues down, and that's where we are, right just there. As you can see, there's many businesses down here. There's that one there.
As stated by myself earlier, you can see it's a dead end and that the business he has just visited and the other businesses are not public-facing concerns, so any implied permission for the public to be there must be for the purposes of a visitor that would fall within the reasonable expectation of such a business, i.e. customers and prospective customers, suppliers, emergency services, various official people, postmen and so on. That pretty much precludes the possibility of it being a highway. In my opinion, an implied permission for a visitor could include a visit by a photographer who decides he wants to photograph the workers or buildings and is uninvited, and he doesn't really need their consent, and if he can go about it in a considerate and respectful manner, all the better. But it is private land, so if he's asked to leave and he doesn't, it then becomes trespassing. Harassing and pestering people is not a purpose. It's not even lawful, and since DJ Audits has been told he should stop and they want him to leave and he hasn't, and he's now filming using a surveillance drone, having also filmed people up close on the ground, I consider his actions in this video to amount to an aggravated trespass, which is an offence contrary to section 68 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. And possibly also disorderly behaviour likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress, contrary to section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986, and possibly also harassment contrary to section 1A of the Protection from Harassment Act 1997. If you think this is all exaggerated, just to bear in mind that he received several objections to filming, and if you'd seen the original video, you would know that the man in the red jumper who has just been speaking to him evidently clearly had a look of distress and alarm on his face. Since DJ Audits is trespassing, he has also committed the offence of unlawful obtaining of personal data contrary to section 170 of the Data Protection Act 2018. All of this, of course, is in addition to the civil liability for harassment, simple trespass and various breaches of privacy. I also think that even if the businesses along the road do not own the road, any one of them could still proceed against DJ Audits for his trespass, including the remedy of self-help. In other words, any one of them could physically eject him from the road as a trespasser or bring a claim for trespass, or both. A simple legal basis for physical ejectment would be that the tenant is assumed to be acting as agent for the landlord and could, if necessary, obtain ex post facto confirmation of authority, though of course there would be a difficulty if the landlord refused to confirm this authority. But I think that this authority can stand even on the basis of the business occupier having a licence over the private road. The legal authority for this is the 2000 case of Manchester Airport plc and Dutton, in which the Court of Appeal confirmed that a licensee can bring a claim for trespass. In effect, what the Court of Appeal was saying in that ruling is that a licensee can sue for possession even when it has not even gone into occupation of the land. In effect, what the Court of Appeal was saying in that ruling is that a licensee can sue for possession even when it has not even gone into occupation of the land. Lord Justice Laws had this to say: "In my judgment, the true principle is that a licensee not in occupation may claim possession against a trespasser if that is a necessary remedy to vindicate and give effect to such rights of occupation as by contract with his licensor he enjoys. This is the same principle as allows a licensee who is in de facto possession to evict a trespasser. In every case, the question must be what is the reach of the right, and whether it is shown that the defendant's acts violate its enjoyment. The Dutton judgment does not address the self-help remedy, i.e. physical ejectment, but my view is that any one of the occupiers, including the man who has just been speaking with DJ Audits, could physically eject DJ Audits using such reasonable force as is necessary. There would be two alternate legal bases for this. Either the person ejecting him would be acting under the presumed authority of the landlord, or the person ejecting him would be acting as the occupier of premises that make use of the private road under the authority of the Dutton judgment. We also know that DJ Audits is not registered as a data controller for the purpose of his YouTube channel. I always check this before making a video about him because I know his real identity, and he still only has a registration in the name of his main business. This means he is in breach of Regulation 2 of the Data Protection Charges and Information Regulations 2018. So there you are, big boy.
There's a couple in here. There's no signs or anything like that, so...
As I explained earlier, signs aren't necessary. It's still trespass without the sign. Even if you stumble in because there are no signs, it can still be trespass. Obviously, it wouldn't be much of a trespass if you innocently stumble in and when asked to leave, you leave. In that case, the trespass is cured and nobody need be troubled any further. That's because the person who innocently stumbles in isn't trying to construct some elaborate defence for himself on the basis of a lack of signage. So although it is fair in a way for DJ Audits to point to the lack of signage, that is only when the point is taken in isolation. He can't use it as an excuse.
Strictly accessible all day long, and we are not on their land, and we never have been.
It is true that DJ Audits is not on their land and he never has been, but he's on a private road and that road is not a highway, and that means that any one of those occupiers has the ultimate right in common law to physically eject him. I know that they haven't taken steps to press the matter. They're leaving DJ Audits to fly the drone, but that does not imply permission to do so, as it is over their clearly expressed objections. It remains a case that he is trespassing. It's not as if he has a pressing reason to be there. There are other businesses in the vicinity that front onto the publicly maintained highway, and he could lawfully film them if he wanted to.
Here he comes again. I think he's off in his car now. Which one's his? Oh, he's in the nice Audi at the back. Oh no, he's going to ask the neighbouring businesses. I'll be gone by then, mate. I'll be gone by then. So let's get the whole site in one shot for them. Let's do a 360-degree photo for Google Maps. And let's move on. The location of the DJ Audits keyring on this video is in this tree just here, as shown just there. So if you are one of the first people to watch the video and you do want a keyring, well, good luck with that. And that just leaves one final thing. Where has the big boss gone? Because we know that he went down there, because I saw him. He was talking on this intercom just here for a little bit. And then he went in that door just there. So he's trying to convince the two other businesses to revoke my access down here, but
it's not strictly necessary for him to do that. He could revoke it on his own.
Down here, but unadopted road. Let's check, shall we?
About time you checked.
So as shown on the screen just there, Waleswood Way in Rotherham. That's exactly where we are right now, maintainable at public expense.
No, it is not, and what you've just seen on the screen does not say that. You can see if I show you my own still, which shows the exact same information that he's looking at. What we can immediately see is that only part of Waleswood Way is maintainable at public expense, and the part he stood on is not maintainable at public expense. It's a private road.
So, let's see if we can see any difference on the tarmac as it comes up here, you'll see this is the main Waleswood Way, and the road surface is exactly the same as it comes down here.
Even if what he's saying about the road surface is true, it means nothing anyway, because the owners of the road may have contracted the local highways authority to apply the same surfacing to their stretch of road as the rest. What matters is whether it is a highway and who retains the legal responsibility for maintenance, not the result.
No visible difference to say that this is now private land. So you've got the public footpath there, the dots to help the blind people cross the road, continues all the way down here. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a council adopted road.
Except it isn't, is it? The information you looked at shows you it isn't. Anyway, somebody else comes out to challenge him now.
Yeah, I'm okay.
What are you filming?
Just the businesses.
Why?
Just for my YouTube channel. I just do videos on industrial estates.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
As far as you're aware, do you know this road down here?
Yeah.
It's a normal council road, isn't it?
No. No, it's not. It's privately owned.
Correct.
What's making you think that? Because someone else has just said that as well.
Yes, it's funny that 3 different people have told you that, and you still don't believe them. And the app that you looked at tells you that. You'd think maybe you would have revised your view by now.
You have to pay for the trucks to come in and grit.
Really?
Yeah. So the people that own this land.
From where?
From the main road.
All the way down there?
Yeah.
Right. How weird.
The people she's referring to are probably the landlord. The businesses along the road will have leases over their premises from the landlord, who will own the private road itself.
So the council do not grit this area, you have to pay for it to be gritted?
Yeah.
That's weird, that is.
Yeah.
I've got a website that I checked. Look, you're getting wet. I'll just show you what I work off.
Okay.
A local government associated website.
Yeah.
It says that Waleswood Way is maintainable at the public expense.
Right.
All the way down.
You're not looking at it carefully enough. He obviously doesn't understand how Find My Street works, and he doesn't seem to appreciate that you have to check the information against a map, because some roads are partly private, and this road is more the complex of roads within an industrial estate, and the road he is on is a private part of Waleswood Way.
So
Yeah.
as long as it says that, I can just film anywhere.
Right. Okay.
So if it doesn't say that, which we know it doesn't, does that mean you're accepting that you shouldn't be filming there?
So are you sure that happens? You pay for grit?
Yeah.
How weird.
You're weird.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you reckon, guys?
I reckon you don't know what you're talking about.
Do they pay for private grit lorries to come down in the winter periods? I don't think so. No way.
I think they do.
So it has started to rain now, so I don't think we'll be filming the other 2 businesses down here, but we've come to the end. We've got the camera out, so if anybody has been influenced by that gentleman spinning his lies to these 2.
He's not a liar. He was telling you what the position is. It's a private road and you were trespassing.
And now is the time where they would come out. Already. All riled up by the boss of that place.
Which of course is what you want, just reinforcing that you're not here for any purpose other than to wind people up for the gratification of your viewers.
But as you can see, nobody's coming out. We've remained on the pavement.
The pavement that is private land that you're trespassing on.
We're not going to go into their yard. Don't need to. So yes, the rain is continuing. It is getting heavier. So that's the video. And that was Cutting Edge Laser Limited. The rain has not stopped. It's getting a bit heavy now, so I'm going to disappear. But now we know what they do. They stock, cut and fold a wide range of materials, including mild low carbon steels, stainless steels, aluminium, copper, brass, galvanized, coated, and lots more. And we know they can do up to 4 meters, 4 by 2 meters and up to 25mm thickness. So if you have enjoyed that video, do give it a thumbs up for me, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye bye for now.
You heard him. If you dislike that video, give him a thumbs down. Oh wait, the video has now been blocked on DJ Audits channel due to a defamation complaint. Why am I not surprised? If you or I accused DJ Audits of lying, he would very quickly put in a complaint to YouTube and have the video blocked.
I found some information about this road.
Yeah, good.
I think that's the best response to DJ Audits of the whole video.